This is the technical assistance for 2020 contracting process. I look forward to partnering with all of you. I'm excited, and we will get started now. Thank you. I'm Tammy Cole, the Director of Homeless Programs in the Department of Family and Support Services. I will be going over the scope, and Angela Smith from our Finance Division will be going over the budget. We will answer questions at the end of the presentation. We'll have plenty of time to do that. And in the meantime, if you have questions, please type them in at the right-hand side of the dashboard. Okay. Award letters were sent out December 19, 2019. Your award letter indicates your assigned liaison, program liaison, and they're listed here: Felicia Hinton, Susan O'Neill, and Cindy Rivera. We did not have a homeless contracting roundtable for everyone. We're just having the homeless contracting roundtable for amendments and new contracts. And how you know if it's an amendment or new contracts is in your award letter. Under action, it will say amendment, or it will say original of the multi-year contract. Also, it will say in the letter itself that you're supposed to attend the January 13th roundtable. Most of these are releases, so we do not have a roundtable for releases. Forms are available for download at the following site, and you go under the Homeless Service Division and you will find all the scopes and the budget forms. And forms that have been, do not alter or change the scope or budget forms at all. If forms have been manipulated, they will be returned and not reviewed. Also, there's an ESG certification form attachment, and I will be explaining that in a moment. This form is required to be signed and submitted with completed budgets by the agencies whose funding source is ESG and or used as a match to ESG funding. The ESG certification is for the ESG funded agencies, programs, and the ESG matching programs. And most of the matching programs will be shelter, and there's one drop-in center that is going to be covered. So, and the funding sources that are used for the ESG match are IDHS, Corporate 9263, Corporate 9255, and aviation. On the certification, the ESG certification form, it explains what are the eligible costs, and it goes through that by program activities. So you have street outreach, you have emergency shelter, rapid rehousing, and homeless prevention. And then for ESG funded programs, you cannot use ESG funds. You cannot use ESG funds for administration. And administration is administrative staff, like your executive director, finance, HR, IT, development staff, audit staff, program monitoring and evaluation staff, goods and services associated with the administration of the program, rental or purchase of office space, office supplies, and you can't use it for renovation or HMIS. To reiterate, agencies are required to submit this form along with their budgets who are being funded with ESG or ESG match. And like I said, the ESG match is corporate 9255, corporate 9263, aviation, and IDHS. There will be an email forthcoming to the agencies that have to complete the ESG form, and we will send that out shortly. This is necessary to comply with the HUD regulations. We must have an ESG form with all the ESG and ESG match programs. This form will be uploaded along with your budget forms. Agencies are required to submit an initial copy with each of the budgets which are ESG affected. When the budget forms are approved, the initial ESG certification form will be uploaded as an attachment into the system. And if you have any questions, if you need to attach an ESG certification form, please reach out to your program liaisons. We have, for 2020 scope, we have 15 different program models. Each of them are on the website, and be sure to confirm that you have the correct scope for your program. The scope is fillable form. It's divided into 5 sections: agency information, program goals and core elements, performance measurements, requirements, and E, submittal and approval. I'm going to highlight the changes that we've made in the scope from last year. The first one was we added for agencies that have multiple sites, we've added a chart for each HMIS number for each site. And then also we've listed the program sites. You have up to 5 sites that you could put in here, and be sure to put in for shelters the number of beds for each site. And then for completing this section on the total program amount should be the total program amount for your program, and that's on your award letter. And when you're completing this, I would have a copy of your award letter with you. And the PO number is listed, and you put the PO, you put the award amount, and then you put the contract type, funding source. So in this example, the program amount was $250,000. So we had one PO for $150,000, and the contract type was homeless-CSBG. And then we had another PO number. The award amount was $100,000, and the contract funding source was Homeless ESG 2020. So be sure that your total program amount adds up. You have the total amount in this chart. And then we have, we've put down for the number of clients served and households served. We separated that this year, so you have each site, you can put down the number of clients and households that you plan to serve. And I would be sure to, when you're filling this out, to be as realistic as possible. I would probably compare your data from last year to get your projections for this year, for the number of clients served and number of households. The other change that we made was we put a chart in for the ADA in Section 504 for each of your sites. Now make sure that you look and read if it's ADA compliant or if you meet Section 504 policies. Because ADA is for handicapped accessible, and Section 504 covers blind and hearing and those sorts of disabilities. So be sure to answer that correctly. Section B, one thing on Section A that I wanted to say is for your program description, be sure that you're clear and concise and clear exactly what the program is and program description and target population, etc. But be sure you're clear and concise when completing that. Section B, this section has not changed from last year. We still have the DFS Homeless Division goals and who we hope to serve with the program, the target population. And we also have the core elements of the programs to achieve these goals for the target population. That's the core elements. And you will see that in each of the specific program models. The performance measurements, this section has not changed from last year. It covers performance indicators. It explains how DFSS will collect data, an overview of meetings that you will be asked to participate in focused on performance improvement, and how DFSS will use the data. Performance indicators are no longer entered into the scope. They will be filled in for you. They are the same indicators that were reported in the RFP relevant to your program model. And data reporting, we have now successfully are using HMIS for the quarterly reports. And we've initiated meetings focusing on using data to monitor progress and develop strategies to improve performance for the shelter programs. And we're looking at this year how to roll that out to all the other programs and have a light touch on those meetings. In the last section, the data, we're going to use the data to guide DFSS and program development, evaluate the programs, inform DFSS policies, and inform future contract decisions. We also want to highlight that we've added a new way we'll use data, which is to better support you and inform our service approach through the meetings we just discussed. Section D is requirements. It's program requirements. They're identical to those listed in the RFP. Also, we have additional and priority requirements. Examples are shelters and family preservation, and also specific requirements for each specific program model. Examples are shelters are to provide daily data for DFSS bed clearance house. The next section is certifications and original signature date and sign it in blue ink. The last page provides additional information as it relates to the regulations tied to specific funding sources, and I encourage everyone to look at those hyperlinks on each of the regulations, each of your funding source regulations. And just reminders is the next. Proposed number of clients and households must be realistic. Again, I would use your 2019 client served as a level to use for the number of clients you anticipate serving this year. It is important that you provide program manager with a draft of your scopes and budgets. These will be accepted by email. After revisions are completed and your program manager confirms your scope and budgets are acceptable, Agencies are to provide a signed and dated copy of all documents. Documents will be accepted either by being dropped off or via color scan copy. Cut-off pages will not be accepted. Please confirm with your program manager your preference. Turnaround time to resubmit revisions should be relatively short. The longer an agency takes to resubmit revisions, budgets, and scopes cannot be submitted for continued processing. So the longer you take, the longer it will take to process your contract. Reach out to your assigned program managers for any questions and/or concerns. One thing that I wanted to also say, in your award letter, you have your contract liaisons, and that's who you send your contract documents to. You send to the program managers, you send the budgets and scopes, but the contract documents go to the contract liaison, which is listed in your award letter. I would now like to, for those of you that might have come in late, I just want to remind you that we're taking questions, and you can type them in at the right-hand side of their dashboard, write in the questions, and when we end the section on budget forms and instructions, we will open up for all questions. And I want to turn it over to Angela Smith from our Department of Finance, who will be reviewing the 2020 budget forms.
Well, good morning. Again, I'm Angela Smith from Finance, and I'm going to go over the budget for 2020. I'd like to remind you that you have received an award letter, but please read it. We have new budget forms, and please use the new budget forms. And the main change is the header on budget form number 1. But again, please use the new forms, because if you do submit the old forms, the Homeless Division, your program liaison, will be returning it to you. So on the budget form, I'm going to talk on some brief instructions and then move over to the form. On the budget form, you will be completing section lines A through G, and that is the yellow highlighted areas. Your agency name, your program name, like if you're interim, and those areas of which that Tammy mentioned to you, you will put that first, and then if your agency has a program name, you put the slash in, shown as the example that this is the interim program, and the program name for this agency is Southern Location. The preparer's name, put on C, D, their email address, and please put the person who is preparing the budget, because when the finance unit has to reach out to someone, they would like to speak with the one who prepares the budget. So that'll be very convenient for us. And also, if anyone from the finance division reaches out to you in regards to the budget forms, please contact us within 24 hours. Because again, the budget form is one of the forms that helps complete the release or the contract. So this has to be prepared, completed, and accurate. You will also put the email address going back to the form on line D. You put the email address that the preparer can be contacted, and also the phone number that the preparer can be contacted. Because sometimes we have it that it goes to another, it has another number, and also to provide a number that's the working number. The supplier number on line F, that information is in the award letter. You will provide your federal employee identification number. On Now, when we get to section on line H, that is already pre-printed. Line I will automatically calculate. Line K is already pre-printed. I'm sorry, line J is pre-printed with Department of Family Support Services. And when you're using the form, please use Department of Family and Support Services budget forms, because some of you may have contracts with other city departments, but please use our forms for the homeless program. K through Q is empty because, again, underneath you notice it states entered by the department. We will put all this information in, and then afterwards you will go down to, once you complete your budget, you will sign on line in section S, sign in blue ink, type in the person who is the official and date it, and put their title. T is, as is shown, that's for Department of Family and Support Services. This form, the forms are locked, and we will not be giving out any passwords for it. The format, you must keep it the same. If the form is a portrait, please complete it as a portrait. On this example, they broke it up, it's been broke up into 2 sections so it could fit on the form for this presentation. But its budget form is all, it goes from set lines A through down through T. Now for their brief instructions for Form 2, you can go over, and this presentation will be emailed to you. But again, you will be filling out information in the yellow highlighted areas. Now the information that you typed in on Form 1 in the header will auto-populate to the headers on Forms 2 through 3. So you don't have to worry about putting that information in at the top. As long as you complete the top portion, the yellow highlighted areas on Form 1, you're fine with the headers on all the other forms. As is shown on the slide, this is an example that you're using where in column 1, you put your title. Column 2 is the amount of how many people are in that title. You will put the annual or the hourly rate in column 3. Column 4 is the number of pay periods. If this position is hourly, as is shown down a few lines down, like for the maintenance worker, you will put the number of hours per pay period. In column 6, you will put the percentage of time that the person works for this project. 7 is the maximum compensation. You don't put that because, as you see, it is not highlighted in yellow. And in column 8, you will put the amount that you would like to get reimbursed for the particular title. The formula, there's a formula set for column 2 times 3 times 4 times 6. It will give you a total cost in column 10 and put the other share in. So if you do want to get reimbursed, then it will give you the difference. But first you will fill out, from columns 1 through 6, fill in your job description. Then you make your decision according to your award, how much you would like or what titles you would like the city of Chicago to reimburse. And it will auto-calculate. And for 7, that column is set for an easy read for the controller's office. So when you voucher and for the position for that particular title, it lets the controller know about how much an average per pay period that particular title should be reimbursed. So again, you have it for the annual salaries as an example for the annual salaries and the hourly salaries on this page. And also please don't forget to put in your job description, a brief job description. You don't have to give a whole book on or call to ask us to expand column 11 because it's brief. Now, I want to also give a touch on and look at 11 for the title maintenance worker. If you have titles that are hourly or positions that sometimes the pay rate may vary, they may put in some extra hours, I would strongly encourage you in the job description, right after that brief job description, you will type the word time varies. And that will let the controller will not hold you to the example like for the maintenance worker. Per pay period, they can't go over $520.83. But for the time vary, maybe you might have asked that maintenance worker to work a little longer, or they might have worked less due to whatever reason. But if the time varies, if it fluctuates, and we're reimbursing in column 8, you can't get reimbursed a little more than the $520.83 if you put the wording in column 11. And going down to line 13, starts the fringe benefits. In columns 9 and 10, you notice that it's not highlighted. So it will automatically calculate because there is a formula in this form. So if you have a rate, remember that starting on line 13, you can put the percentage rate in, but also too, you're going to give a calculation. So observe this because you have to put the rate in the rate column. But if you put the formula in, put a calculation in and don't put it in, you're just going to have to add information in. Now, also, I want you to remember that if you have decimal points and watch your rounding, because sometimes if you're rounding and you put too many decimal points in, it may cause the figures to you may have a variance in there. So be observant to that. But if we call, our accountants call about a variance, then please get back to us. Also on line 17, if you are putting in 17 and 18, if you are putting dollars in columns 8, 9, and 10, and you have a calculation, no, you must have a calculation if you have any dollars shown in those columns. You must tell us what type of benefit it is, because we have received budgets in and we have figures in column 8, 9, and 10, and a formula in column 11, and we don't know what it is. So you have to identify in the items column what the fringe benefit is. Again, this form will auto-calculate the totals, and that will move these to totals for the salaries, and the fringe, it will automatically calculate and appear back on Form 1. If you need additional, if you have a lot of titles, you can use Forms 2A, 2B, and 2C. Now, on this example, it doesn't show the agency name, but the forms are set for the headers to go to all forms. So I noticed in this presentation they're not showing, but it should have it in there. If it doesn't, please let us know. Contact me via email at amsmith@cityofchicago.org. Now for the instructions for Form 3. Form 3 is your non-personnel. Again, on your non-personnel, you will be filling in the yellow highlighted area. And those are columns 3 through 6. And you are not to use account number 400, which is equipment for this program. Also, too, for account 0801, that's for the indirect. If you are indicating as reimbursement for account 801 for indirect, you must provide us with an approved indirect letter from your cognizant agency, or if you do not have one, you must provide a certified letter on your agency stationery stating if you have applied or you haven't applied and you choose to use the 10% de minimis rate. So here is a brief example of how form number 3 is filled out. In column 1 is like a brief example of what type of items can go in account 100. So if you wanted to get reimbursed, you will put information, your figures in column 3 and in column 5. In column 6, you must have a description. So again, the guide for you for this particular account is in column 1. For account 140, professional and tech, is for the consultants. Again, the example shows if you want to get reimbursed, how much it is, your total cost. It shows the difference will automatically calculate in column 4. These are for the consultants, subcontractors. An example is like for accounting services, IT services, security guards. Now, for this particular account, if you have subcontract, you have to provide a copy of your agreement if you want us to reimburse for this particular account. You must provide that when you're submitting your budget, and it will go to the program liaison, and they will hold that agreement in their division. It will not go out on the website. It's for our reference, because a lot of our grantors have requested that we have one on file. So if you do put something in account 140, we would like to have that agreement. For the 200 account for travel, as it states, is for your transportation. Some programs, not all, some programs, because again, this is a general form used for a lot of other programs here at DFSS. So that's why you see the hotel, the meals, the gratuities, and parking costs. But for the homeless program, it's a bit different. It is for the transportation and travel for staff, and for mileage and parking for staff, and you stated. If it is for the venture cards for your clients, you would say venture cards. You would differentiate, letting us know that the venture card is for the client. If you have a venture card for the staff, you state that it's for the staff. In this example, it says that the venture cards are for the client. Staff travel will be the mileage and the parking. On to account 300 for the materials and supplies. In column 1, it states some of the types of materials and supplies that you can ask for. But again, for the homeless program, majority of the time, we will see the office and program supplies. Some programs and funding streams can allow computers. If you are receiving CSBG funding, you cannot put in computers or printers. But if you want more information, reach out to your liaisons, because your liaisons have an idea of what, according to the funding stream, which you can use in this particular account. But for this example, we put that for the office and program supplies, the computers and printers, computer software, and the cleaning supplies and food for clients. And please let us know what the food is for. And for meals and beds, linen, or bedding. Because again, this document is used at the controller's office when you submit your vouchers. This is the guide that they use. So make sure you put in the items that you would like to get reimbursed if you're telling us about reimbursement. But if you have it and you're showing the account because you're showing us what you will purchase, but you might not ask us to reimburse you for it, because all lines, you don't have to ask the city to reimburse you. But this is just showing an example if you did want the city to reimburse on it, because you have put dollar amounts in column number 3. Again, for the equipment, you're not to put it in. Even though that you may have equipment at your agency, I strongly advise you not to put it in. That'll just be something that you use and you have equipment at your agency. But please do not put that in the homeless budget. In account 400. So in the example, it says NA at FSS. Account 801 is the indirect. Again, for the indirect is administrative costs. And if you do ask for us to reimburse and we see a total in, if it was $1, $10, $100, still, if you have it in a figure in column 3, you must provide an approval letter or an agency certification letter. For account 999 is other. And in this example, we use it as client assistance. And $5,000 will be reimbursed, and it's client assistance. You can list some of the items. But again, please, if you have a lot of items, because there are some programs that have long lists, then you list items on this in column 6. And you list what you're doing for client assistance, if it's clothes for the clients or whatever. And if it's real long, which you don't have to contact us to ask us to increase the row. What you do is add the wording. See attachment. And on the attachment, you will put attachment, put your agency name, the PO number, and indicate that it's for additional information for account 999. And that can be also for account 300 if you have a lot of items that you want to get reimbursed. Because remember, you have to note it because, again, the controller is using this guide for reimbursement. So there are instructions. This is just an example of them. When you received your award letter, it gave you the website to pick up all your forms, your forms for the scope and for contracting and for the budget. The budget instructions are also there. But when we send this presentation of this webinar out, we will attach the full set of budget form instructions, but most of you will see them and they should be out on the website. If you don't have them, then please let us know that you did not see them out there, but they are out there. So this concludes the presentation for the budget form. And again, if you have questions, please type them in now, and we will address those questions. Thank you.
We're going to start reading the questions off, and there'll be a pause, and then we'll be right back. Thank you. Question on some of the sections of the template do not allow data to be entered, such as the total new plus carryover box. Please give me a call regarding that, and we will look into that matter. How do we confirm who is eligible to sign the budget forms?
Okay, most people who sign budget forms are executive directors, CEOs, presidents, controllers. Those who sign the budget form should also submit or be on file, will have a signature authorization form on file. Because when the budget forms get to the controller's office, if they don't see it when they're reviewing your budget, when they're doing vouchers, they're not going to reimburse on your vouchers. So the person who signs the budget form, or doing any signing, make sure that they have a signature authorization form on file, and those can be located out on the website. That form goes to the contracts unit, to my understanding.
For ADA in Section 504, there's only a checkbox. You cannot type an answer. So if the answer is yes, do you check the box? I will get back with you on that question. I will put it in the email when I send this information out, how best that we're going to handle that issue. The scope of services for permanent supportive housing only allows for 4 sites in Section A, but allows for 5 sites for numbers to be served per site for ADA Section 504. We have 5 sites with 1 central office site for our PSH program, but we can only list 4 of the site locations while providing numbers served for all 5 sites. I would, in that case, just handwrite the 5th site under the on your scope of services. When the fringe benefit cost is not based on a percentage, but rather a fixed monthly cost, such as their health insurance policy cost, it doesn't change per month. With that case, what would one put under rate?
All right. What you would state on that particular line is you would have an attachment. You need to break it down because, again, that the controller's office has to have some type of formula, a guide to use to issue out payment for a benefit.
For the indirect rate, if we have not applied and won't be applying for an approved indirect cost rate, we submit a letter stating we are not applying and will be using the de minimis rate of 10%. Or are you saying that in order to use the 10% minimus rate, we have to also apply for an indirect cost rate?
Okay, for indirect, if you do not have a approved rate, you will state on the letter that have not applied for an indirect, approved indirect cost rate, and you choose to use the 10% de minimis rate. But there are some agencies that do have an approved rate, and it may be like 20-some%, but they have their letter, but on the form, on the budget form on Form 3, on account 801, in the description, you will say you choose to use a particular rate. But again, you are going to put the approval letter in, but you're telling on the form that you're choosing to use a lesser rate, a lesser percentage rate. The budget is due.
It's due along with your scope as soon as possible. The sooner that you get in the budget and scope and contract documents, the sooner we can process your contract and you can voucher. Under account 0200 transportation, are Lyft, Uber, and taxi reimbursable for staff activities, including attending required meetings and trainings?
Okay, for the Uber and Lyft, you will put that in account 200, and you will state you can state it that you're going to do it for going to meetings, and you can mention that in one sentence. In account 200.
I am on the DFSS website now for the homeless division and do not see the budget instructions Angela referenced.
Okay, we will go back. We'll have someone to go out and put a set out there. But again, with this presentation, we will put these forms. But the forms were supposed to be included, the instructions, I'm sorry, are supposed to be out with the budget form. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Will you be sending the agreement signature pages after your review? If you're talking about the contract signature pages, then no, that's through the contract division. If you're talking about the scope that needs to be signed, then yes, we will be sending that after our review. We'll be sending it back for you to sign. We already turned in our scopes and budgets as we were led to believe that they were due as soon as they were sent out in December. Will we receive word on whether they are corrections needed, or do we need to resubmit? Thank you. You do not need to resubmit. I would follow up with your program manager and talk with them to see where the status is regarding those. Can you explain again why agencies should not put anything under category 0400 equipment on Form 3?
We don't use account 400 with these programs that we have for homeless, and there are some, and is dealing with our grantors, some instances, but for this program, we do not accept anything. We don't want account 400 to be filled in. And we're not going to accept any items or reimburse in account 400, unfortunately.
Should we still submit notarized signature page for each PO, right? We have 4 POs, but only receive 1 signature page in our award letter. I would call your contract liaison regarding that question. Do we also mail the certificates of insurance to the contract liaison? Yes. My ED is out on medical and is unavailable. Please advise. I'm not sure what you mean to advise. Are you for signatures? It can be a board member for the budget. It could be a board member that's authorized. Is this webinar being recorded? Yes. Just to confirm, if we have hourly people, we can voucher for an amount greater than the maximum compensation on Form 2 if they work more hours in a particular pay period.
Yes.
We don't need to submit new signature forms for this year unless we are adding a new authorized signer. Is that right? Again, on that, you would need to talk with your contract liaison, and you find that in your award letter, who that would be. I'm an authorized signature for the voucher. Would I be able to sign the budget?
If it's stated for the budget, for the voucher only, but if you are the person who normally signs, you only do vouchers, that's something that you have to deal with your agency. If your board or your executives will allow you to sign budgets, then you can sign. And if you do have the signature authorization, I should not see any problem with it. It all depends with your title. I don't know. Hold for a moment. Yes, you can call offline.
Budget question, will the description box on the budget form be expandable? I always need more room to write the total description of costs.
Again, we need a brief description, but if it's items in which that you need, you will write some of the items on the line in the description section and leave enough room to say, see attachment. And then add an attachment. On the attachment in the upper left, you will identify it's an attachment for the particular account. And you can add information, additional information.
We have one more question. If any more questions, please type in now. Are we breaking up the packet? Scopes, budget, and other forms should be directed to the budgets and the scopes go to your program manager, and the contract documents go to your contract liaison. I did not get any agreement signature pages for any of the POs, whether you're part of the award letter. You will need to talk with your contract liaison regarding that question. Hi, this is the last question we have right now. If our federally approved indirect cost rate letter also includes an approved fringe rate, are we able to use that as support for our monthly vouchers rather than the full package of payroll tax, health insurance, workers' compensation, etc.?
That's separate. The federal approved indirect is for your account 801. Now, if I'm understanding right, for your monthly vouchering, if you have payroll taxes and all, you have to submit for payroll taxes if it's in for account 005 and for really 0044, because that's where the fringe benefits. Now, if it's for, okay, if I'm reading right, if you are submitting for reimbursement for indirect, you don't have to put all the payroll and whatnot in for the admin. But if it's for the finance,
It's the question says we have both rates approved, indirect and fringe benefits.
Is this based on, give me a call. Call me directly at 312-746-8611 in regards to the information about that fringe, about the indirect and fringe benefits.
Your name?
I'm Angela Smith.
Okay. All right. This is all the questions that we received. I just want to review scope and budget reminders. Ensure that the scope is completed, pages are numbered, are visible. All pages must be submitted along with the required documentation. The program description needs to be clear and concise. All the POs are listed with the correct budget allocation and contract type funding source under Section A. If DFSS is paying for leasing costs, a copy of the current lease must be submitted and be stated on the Budget Form 3, non-personnel. If the agency has subcontractors, they must be listed and provide a subcontracting agreement for the services. Subcontractors must be listed on Budget Form 3, non-personnel. Is there any other questions right before we end? We have 4 contracts, but only received 2 award letters. You can give me a call, call your program manager, but that's fine. The award letters list various, all contracts. So you should have it covered. If you have questions, please give your program manager a call. Your assigned program manager should be the first person to contact. Please see your award letters to confirm. They're listed here again: Felicia Hinton, Susan O'Neill, Cindy Rivera. And for budgetary questions, call Angela Smith at 312-746-8611, and her email is also on here. If you have Any other questions, please contact your program manager. And if you have questions regarding your contract documents other than the budget and scopes, please contact your contract liaison who's listed on your award letter. Thank you.